The Packers have played their 4 quarters. Now it's time for the 5th quarter.
Unbelievably, year number 39 for the 5th quarter. And for, I think, the 5th year now, we are at the brand new, newly renovated Stadium View Bar and Grill on Holmgren Way. I tell you, it's amazing. Yeah, it looks great. Jerry went out and hired Chip and Joanna for a weekend. They got in here and tore the place apart. And look at it now. It's fantastic. Fixer-upper indeed. Welcome back, my co-host for now his 7th season right next door, Matt C.
Hello. Yes, so
how are you?
So you've been doing this now for your 39th season.
Yes.
What's been your favorite season?
My favorite season? I don't know if it was necessarily the Super Bowl seasons, but, certainly back in the early days when we first took this thing on the road, we did the show from the likes of a Hardee's restaurant in those little swivel chairs, literally.
In an actual fast food restaurant.
Yes. We did it from an all-car automotive store in the spark plug aisle one week.
Did you get paid in 5W30?
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, 10W, but it's all right.
I don't know what kind of vehicles
those were
you
the
have at
road
home.
traveling days, to tell you the truth. I really liked 95 because that was like the 3rd year in a row they went to Dallas and lost in the playoff game, and those guys were so tired of it that I just knew in year 5 with Holmgren and Favre that it was going to happen, and it did. So that was a lot of fun. And quite honestly, they're all fun. They really are. This is the one thing I think I enjoy doing more than any other on my job, and it is great to be back. And we really appreciate Jerry Watson for having us back. So if you see Jerry tonight, slap him on the shoulder and say, well done on the rehab. This is awesome. And we got a lot of ground to cover tonight. Obviously, training camp underway, a preseason game in the books. And we've got El Presidente, Mark Murphy, as our leadoff guest once again this season. Really looking forward to a conversation with the president of the Green Bay Packers. So, away we go.
And we have our number one screaming fan back, Chuck.
Yes, Chuck is back with a mouthful. In fact, a lot of familiar faces are back, and it's great to see you all. I hope you had a great off season. I know it wasn't the finest of off seasons, but we'll get to that in a minute as well. But we're off and rolling here in 2018.
Anyone listening on the radio, anytime you hear a woo-hoo, that is Chuck. That is famous Chuck here.
And we have plenty of room for you, obviously. Great sight lines again this year from the View. This is tremendous. And we got great reasons for you to come on down because our sponsors, again, have come through Diamonds and Gold with a great jewelry store over at Bellevue. And, of course, Robinson's is back, and they're going to have stuff to give away. Our Hot and Cold Play is back tonight. We're going to start right out of the gate with that. And we're also going to be giving away tickets to Packer home games from our friends at Robinson's all season long, including a pair to the Steel Curtain. Super Bowl 45 rematch coming up Thursday night. Won't look nearly the same, but it's the Steelers.
Not quite the same. Not quite the same.
It's not quite the same. So, glad to have you with us. And as we start most shows, as you know the drill, we kind of take you back to the most recent game. We'll get you into the locker room, talk about the performance. And it is preseason, and it is training camp, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But it was fun. Thursday night at Lambeau, a 31-17 victory over the Tennessee Titans. And we'll go to the locker room right away to hear what they had to say, beginning with head coach Mike McCarthy. And he says the first one wasn't a bad one.
Felt that was a good start for our football team. Really what we wanted to accomplish tonight as a team was establish, our play style. And secondly was just try to create as many opportunities as we possibly could for our players. It was important for everybody to play in the game tonight. So we accomplished that.
They accomplished that, although 18 didn't play, including 12 starters for a variety of reasons.
Which is not unusual.
No, it is not unusual for the first one. But Brett Hundley opened at quarterback, and he engineered a touchdown drive on his first possession that tied the game at 7. And it was Jamal Williams who put on the fancy brakes with a sideline catch that resulted in the 8-yard score.
Most of the time, usually Jamal would have just went outside and just try to hit the sideline, get bounced out of bounds, but this is something new to me, going back inside. I didn't think he was thinking how I would go back inside either, so it was just a great play, honestly, just a great moment.
It was a good moment for Jamal, and he's underrated in the pass receiving department, the leading rusher for the Packers coming back this year.
Are we nicknaming him Sweet Feet yet?
Not quite.
No.
Not quite.
That was a nice move.
But it was a nice move.
That was fun to see.
Yeah, it was. Deshaun Kaiser made his Packer debut last Thursday night, acquired from the Cleveland Browns for Demarius Randall. Had a couple of long drives while at the helm. Made a few more plays with his feet than he really wanted to, though.
Yeah, it was a situation in which, I would like to stay in the pocket a little more and prove that I can get through the reads. But, at times you got to get out. Maybe I'm feeling ghosts. Maybe I'm, getting out a little too soon. But for the most part, it's about, stringing together positive plays and keeping the ball out of harm's way, and sometimes keeping the ball in my own hands and, using my feet is the best thing for us.
If you got to get it done, no matter how you get it done, you get it done. And that was Deshaun's modus operandi in his 2 drives, which resulted in a touchdown from backup running back Joel Bowanyan that built the lead for the Pack. Kaiser's biggest play was that 2nd and 30 conversion. It covered 51 yards to rookie Marquez Valdes-Scantling, one of the 3 drafted wide receivers. MVS wound up with 5 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown.
I feel great. Great experience. First NFL game. It was a great experience for me to go out there and show what I can do.
He did plenty. He was impressive.
You got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Equiminius St. Brown.
And Jamon Moore, your 3 draft choices.
I think the best named wide receiving core in the NFL.
There's certainly colorful handles, that's for sure. That 15-yard touchdown pass was really a nice grab in traffic, and it was delivered by the rookie free agent quarterback, Tim Boyle. And it was the first of 2 on the night for this kid.
It's a two-way street. I throw a ball, and the hard part is catching it. I mean, when there's a guy draped all over you, the hard part is catching the ball. So they make me look good 100%.
Jake didn't have to work too hard for his.
Jake had to beat his guy, which is the hard part. The physical part, I put in a spot where kind of he had to catch it and just run after the catch. So it ended up being a really good play for us.
Really big play for him. It made it 31-10 at the time. Jake Kumerow, UW-Whitewater, has been the darling of training camp, and his 52-yard bomb to close out the scoring was a kind of a reaffirmation of all his work in camp.
Yeah, it feels good. Definitely worked at a lot in practice, and having a ball come right on the money like that makes it easy for me.
Never broke stride. Good throw, good catch, good play. The defense.
He's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, we're almost joking at camp. It's how long does it take Kumerow to make a play?
Right.
And he makes one every day. He really does. He's been something. Aaron Rodgers has called him out several times. Defense gave up the touchdown on the first drive, and they didn't give up another one until the last couple of minutes. But in between, kind of held their own. Vince Beagle recovered a fumble and said the unit carried out its work in camp to the game.
We've been definitely getting after it. Coach McCarthy and Coach Penn have set the tempo, early in camp, that we're going to be physical and that we're going to play hard. So, I think as the preseason continues to get on, we'll kind of get in that in-season schedule. I think you'll start to see guys, start having more of their pop back and, start seeing some guys move around a little better. But overall, I thought it was good.
That was good. First time out. Mike Pettin played it very vanilla. Not going to show a whole lot right now, but we're seeing glimpses of it in training camp. We'll talk about the impact he may have on this team. Well, just what the boss wanted, getting off to a 1-0 start in the preseason. Mike McCarthy says the first of 4 was positive.
Call it a stepping stone game where we had production, we had positive things, we had things clearly we needed to do better, and it was preseason game number 1. But I thought the team got off to a good solid start.
Very good start for the Pack. Over the Titans, 31-17, and here comes the steel curtain on Thursday night for the annual Midwest Shrine Game. There's your locker room story. And the Packers now, as I mentioned, didn't play 18 guys, 12 of them starters, but they're getting healthier. David Bakhtiari, who missed the week after spraining his ankle family night, back at practice. Brian Bulaga is getting in team reps. Just about everybody back on the field today. The only guys who didn't practice were Kevin King, Trevor Davis, Lane Taylor, Jermaine Whitehead, Devontae Mason, Nick Perry, who's still on the PUP list. So it's good. They're getting everybody back a couple of weeks to go, and camp is flying by. There's only 3 public practices left and 3 games left. So 6 opportunities really to do something.
Is there a position group or maybe 1 or 2 players that you are most excited about?
The wide receiver, how that's going to shake out is awfully interesting. The secondary, how that's going to shake out. There's going to be some guys that have been on this team for a couple of years that might not be on this team because they drafted the top 2 again this year. And there's some young talent, I think, in that group. Curious to see the quarterback battle, how that works out behind Aaron Rodgers. But do you really want my honest opinion on that?
Yes.
It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. Because Brett Hundley and DeShone Kizer aren't going to win you more than a handful of games. They're just not. They're just not.
Well, then Tim Boyle for president.
Well, then let's
start it now.
after the game, somebody came up to me and said, all right, let's put Rodgers on the block if we can't get the contract done and get Boyle in there right now, and the future begins anew with an Eastern Kentucky quarterback.
Hashtag Boyle 2020.
Yeah,
Why not?
Why not? So,
give it to him. Yeah. I'm super excited about the tight ends.
There you go. Yeah.
How they're going to use Graham and Lewis if those guys can stay healthy.
Jimmy made a catch today, a one-handed pirouette in the end zone that was just ridiculous with a little defensive back trying to guard him. And if that's what we're going to see in the red zone, put Graham on your fantasy team right now.
If those weapons are healthy, and then some of these young guys who are 6'4", 6'5", stretch the field with speed, nothing but offensive options. And then it's going to come down to how that defense, again, shakes out for this team.
Let's see how that shakes out. Not a whole lot.
But the offense could be pretty scary this year.
Could be pretty scary. Well, the last time Joe Philbin was here, it was the highest scoring, biggest yardage offense in franchise history. And on this very day, in 1919, it was the first ever mention of a football team in Green Bay. The Press-Gazette talked about the formation of a town team that's going to bring in some of the finest from the region to play the Indians and the Packers. They used both nicknames in their very first story, which appeared today back in 1919. And, of course, we all know what's going on across the street. They're celebrating that 100th anniversary big time.
Also, the first year you did the fifth quarter. Pretty cool.
Not quite. Quite. I was here for Curly's second year.
You look good.
That 21
you
championship
look good.
season. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Funny,
you look good.
Funny. We are live statewide again this year. We welcome our listeners from Wausau and Sheboygan. We're being beamed live via the internet on all of our Midwest community communication websites, I believe, right?
Yes.
So there's no reason not to come out and say
I don't
hi.
know.
Because every Monday night from here on out, we're going to be at the View, and you see for yourself what this place is all about. And they're going to have great specials, great deals. We are really thrilled to be back. And when we come back, we'll be thrilled to bring on the man in charge of the organization up the street, Packer President Mark Murphy. We'll bat lead off when the fifth quarter returns right after this.
Live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill, here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
Are you saying something, Murph? You telling me something? No. Welcome back, everybody. Live from the Stadium View, opening night of year number 39 of the fifth quarter here on WTAQ and other fine Midwest communication stations. It is a pleasure to welcome our guest. He's been hitting leadoff for a couple of years now in his 11th season as president of the Green Bay Packers Incorporated. When this show started, he was a fourth-year kid out of Colgate, right?
That's right.
Just trying to make his way with the Washington Redskins at the time. But it's great to have back, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Mark Murphy with us. Hello, Mark.
Mark, it's great to be back.
Woohoo! And it's great to have you back. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I know Jerry Jones has his daily radio show. He can't get enough of the airways, but not every owner, especially as unique as the Packers situation, will do this. But you do this, and I really do appreciate that. It's nice. Come in and face the music and talk a little football and everything else going on up the street.
Well, I haven't been inside Stadium View. It's unbelievable what they've done here. It's like a whole new restaurant and bar. It's great.
Yeah. I was telling Jerry, those TVs around the bar, that looks like Atlanta Stadium with that ringed scoreboard up at top, the most distracting scoreboard in the league. But anyway, Mark, for the first time in a long time, we welcome you without a playoff run to talk about. It led to a major restructuring throughout the organization. You've now had 7 months to kind of see how everything's running. How's everything running?
Time will tell, but we're undefeated right now.
Hey, ho.
Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, so are the Browns.
No, seriously, obviously we had a great run. Last year was the first year since 2008 that we failed to make the playoffs, and I think the consistency has served us well. But I think it was time for some changes. Starting with transitioning Ted to the senior advisory role. I've been very pleased with the work of Brian Gutekunst. I don't think the position's too big for him. I think he's made a smooth transition. I was very impressed with the way he handled the draft, and he's always looking for ways to improve the team. So I'm excited about the future under him. And the other big changes were in the coaching staff, the new defensive coordinator and new offensive coordinator. As you mentioned, I'm really excited to see what this offense will do with Joe Philbin back. He and Mike have a great they work well together. They're a great combination. And as you said, I mean, when he was the offensive coordinator, we had a heck of a run.
Yeah, you did. That's for sure. There's one thing about Joe, and this hasn't really come out publicly, and I don't know if I'm all the way off base with this, but their relationship is so good, Joe Philbin and Mike McCarthy, that I think Joe is one of the very few guys who will tell Mike, no. No. Let's do something other than that. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Well, I think anybody in a supervisory or a management role, you have to be careful and really push people. That there's certain things you need to hear, and if people only tell you what they think you want to hear, you're not getting the information you need.
And Mike Pettine as defensive coordinator. Now, I know these are all under the purview of Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
He is in charge of hiring the staff.
Yeah.
But he went out and got a guy that was a head coach, just like Joe Philbin had been a head coach at Miami. And Pettine's defenses for his years with Rex Ryan and Buffalo and the Jets, top 10 every year. Been kind of in the weeds the last couple of years, consulting for the Seattle Seahawks. That's a good get.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, I mean, his track record is really impressive. I don't think he's ever coordinated a defense that finished outside the top 10. So, I mean, if we're a top 10 defense this year, we're a completely different team.
I like your chances, yeah. But you also you were very adamant about this when you announced the change with Ted moving down the hall into that supervisory role and consultant's role and bringing on Brian. The lines of communication at the very top of the organization, you are now more involved and at least in more discussions in the football side of things than you ever have been before.
Yeah, my thought process was really a couple things. Number one, I think their communication had dropped off a little bit within football. There were some silos, and I thought that the structure that we put in place could help eliminate that and make sure we have better communication. The other thought, quite honestly, is, Brian is a first-year general manager. To be able to narrow his responsibilities and just give him the very most important parts of a general manager's job. And that's, putting together the 90-man roster and then the 53-man roster, I thought would be in his best interest.
Russ Ball also got the promotion.
Yep. And that reflects, Russ he's been a very, very crucial person within the organization for years, and I don't think his previous title really reflected that. No.
Was he?
Well, the other thought I had is, we went through a search process after the season, and kind of coming out of that search, I thought there were really the two most important people on the football side, aside from Mike McCarthy. It was most important to keep Brian, and then Russ was right up there with him. And figuring out a structure where both of them would remain and have important roles was important.
Was Russ more involved with football decisions, personnel decisions over the last year or two, maybe, or was he strictly staying on the salary cap side?
No, he's been involved, since the beginning. I mean, Ted had great confidence in him and had trust in him. Is just his title. I mean, if you look at his title, you would think, well, he just did the salary cap,
right?
But he really had pretty broad responsibility.
And one last thing, and then I'll let Z have a couple of shots at you. All right, with all of the changes, though, there were departures. Elliott Wolf, Alonzo Highsmith, both depart for Cleveland to join John Dorsey and Green Bay Packers, the other Great Lake organization over there. Tough losses.
Yeah, but I mean, you actually want that. I mean, that means that people across the league view us as developing talented young personnel people, and I mean, we've lost a number in the past, and in some ways too. I think for Elliott, I think it's really a positive move.
I think it is too. Did he give you any indication it would have been untenable working with Brian?
No. I mean, and he and Brian have a good relationship. But I think for him, a chance to work with somebody he knows. Brian is so young that they're about the same age. And quite honestly, Mark, as long as he was with the Packers, he was Ron Wolf's son. Now he's Elliott Wolf.
Good point. Good point.
He's his own man.
All right, Z.
In terms of landing and deciding on a new GM, what did Brian bring that the other candidates maybe didn't? What are his strengths, the attributes that made you feel comfortable giving him the reins?
Well, I'd say talent evaluation. and it's difficult to evaluate exactly when somebody's not the general manager, not making the final decisions on who we select. It's difficult to really evaluate how well somebody can identify talent. But one thing that really stood out, I asked all the candidates to go back and rank for the last 3 years all of our draft picks. And and I actually got the reports that they wrote up over the last 3 years. So it was really helpful to me to see how they looked at things. And for Brian, his predictions were pretty much spot on for our players that we've drafted over the last few years. The other thing that stood out about Brian, I think his work ethic, the fact, he was trained by Ron Wolf and then obviously Ted Thompson. He's kind of been a shining star within the organization. He's been promoted. And I think his communication skills have been very impressive, and you see the way he handles himself with the media. For somebody fairly young, I think he's really doing a nice job.
With Ted Thompson, you look back at his time as GM with the Packers. How do you sum up his career as GM here in Green Bay? What do you take away with what he meant to the franchise?
Ted was tremendous what he accomplished here. And he's not a self-promoter, so you
right.
That's for sure. So I don't think people realize, what he accomplished. I think 9 out of 13 years in the playoffs, 8 years in a row, Super Bowl championship. To me, he deserves to be in our Hall of Fame. I'm sure he will be.
Oh yeah.
He's Ron Wolf obviously got credit because he turned things around, but it's also hard to keep good things going. And for Ted to have the run that he did as general manager was pretty remarkable.
How involved is he still, Mark?
He and Brian have a very good relationship.
Yeah. Well,
I think Ted's respectful. He's not going to look over his shoulder, but he's been very helpful to Brian.
Brian's intimated several times just the kinds of advice that you never would expect on his day-to-day job, not necessarily how to evaluate a player, but all these little nuanced things.
It's like anything else.
He's been very helpful,
Nobody knows the issues that you're facing better than the person that's sat in that position. And I've seen that throughout my career as an athletic director, different coaches. And I give Brian credit that, he's willing to be open and take advice from Ted.
So, anxious to see how this new football operations are going to be working out, and we'll find out soon enough. We are going to take a break. When we come back, more with the president. Oh, they got a birthday going on next door, and this one is a whopper, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about all the things involved with that, this team so far in training camp, and lots of other odds and ends. Hey, and don't forget, coming up, the hot and cold plays of the day are back. Yeah, Robinson's got some prizes for you and a grand prize at the end of the year. And we'll take care of our first hot play of the day when we come back right after this timeout.
We now return you to the fifth quarter, live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill. Here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Great to be back for season number 39, live from the Stadium View. Packer President Mark Murphy, our guest tonight. He's getting a sip of water, and when he does that, we're going to jump in and take our hot play of the day contest. You know how it works. You've been around this show before. Every week, hot and cold play from the game. You guessed it right. You take home a prize tonight from Robinson's, and you get qualified for a grand prize drawing at the end of the year. And I'm assuming it's a couple of ducats to that last home game again, right? In the club seats for the Lions on December 30th, right? I believe that's
I would assume so.
I would assume that's what it's been for every year. So let's line them up and see if we can't get one right out of the gate. Looking for the hot play from last Thursday night. I know we got to stretch your memory a little bit.
Our first contestant came with Cliff Notes.
She wrote down every gain of more than 7 yards.
She has about 4 options for the hot play. So let's see what she goes with.
Boyle's touchdown pass to Kumaro.
Didn't take long.
Boom.
Tim Boyle, Jake Kumaro, 52 yards for the touchdown. And one of the most unexpected plays, and that was our hot play of the day. What are we giving away? Not only a bag, but also the new high-tech
Yeah, Robinson's
thermometer and everything?
Yeah, they got a meat thermometer. They got a grill set. They got
Nice.
a whole new cooler bag.
There you
Awesome
go.
from
Take it
Robinson.
away, and you're in. First one in this year. We'll do the Coldplay a little bit later on. Go ahead, Murph.
Well, I was just it was a great play, but the game had already been decided. It was kind of.
I was shocked they were still taking shots. Actually, but
it was an exciting play.
It was an exciting play.
You're poo-pooing the importance of that play?
Yeah.
All right.
Don't you?
That should not have been the hot play.
Well,
That's
you
what
were an
Mark Murphy
undrafted
is
free
telling
agent.
us.
You got to be enjoying watching a kid like Kumaro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, granted, he's been in some camps before and on practice squads before, but
he's getting better and better, and I give him credit. It'd be a great story. If he makes it, coming out of Whitewater, and he's a talented player too.
He's talented.
Yeah, he's big and strong. He's got good speed, and I think what's really been impressive is his understanding of the game, and because Aaron, you know this.
Yeah,
he doesn't suffer fools well. So as younger receivers, they have to really earn his trust, and Jake has earned that.
I thought it was interesting. Aaron came out last week and just ripped him when he was not Kumaro, but the young wide receivers, for their play during the scout team period. And then he was asked about it again today, seeing as how a couple of them responded last Thursday night. Said, "Hey, I didn't do that to fire him up. I'm here to win. I'm paid to win games. So I'm going to say whatever I have to say to get that point across."
Yeah.
And he's not getting any younger, right? I mean, he feels a sense of urgency, you would imagine. I mean, every year is another opportunity wasted if you don't get to the promised land.
34 going on 35, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Which leads
Speaking
us
of
into
Aaron Rodgers,
which leads us into the next question.
What's the latest on that contract situation? What updates
I saw
can
you
you
took
give
a
us?
call during the break, Murph. Was that?
Excuse me. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'm still hopeful we can get a deal done with him. He wants to be here. We want him here. He wants to play till he's 40, and it's just, some of these things just take time.
I understand that. Considering the business side of the league, almost all of these major extensions, though, Murph, have come with 1 year remaining. Has it complicated matters that he's got 2 left on a deal, and you're still trying to restructure not only to keep your overall cap preserved, but to give him what he is due, and that is to make him among the highest paid players in this league, which he deserves to be.
Yeah, no, there's no question. But with Aaron, we've always done his contracts with 2 years remaining.
All right.
So that's kind of been our pattern, and we'd like to do that again.
But it's been cordial. We're not talking Khalil Mack or Roquan Smith or anything else like that.
No, it's and Aaron's very professional. I mean, you watch him in practice, and you wouldn't know that there was any issue, and so I'm confident we can work it out.
But at about 22, I think he's the 10th highest paid quarterback in the league right now. Danica can throw him some lunch money if he's really hurting, don't you think? She's
well,
done
the
pretty well.
challenge is, we want to, pay him what he's due, but we also want to field a championship team, and he wants both of those things too. So, hopefully we can come together.
It's very easy to upset a salary cap apple cart when you invest too much into too few players.
Yeah.
It restricts you and your ability to fill out a roster.
Yeah. When the key to win in the NFL, you have to hit on your draft picks. Especially with the new system. If you have talented draft picks that are playing on rookie contracts, especially if you have a quarterback playing on a rookie contract.
Just ask Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson,
the Seahawks,
Philadelphia last year.
Yeah,
they were able to go out and pay pretty good money for a backup quarterback, and
Seahawks get to a Super Bowl with a quarterback earning $100,000.
Yeah,
kind of rare.
No,
kind of rare indeed. So. But the rest of the process, you still were able to go out and get a Jimmy Graham, get a Muhammad Wilkerson, Mercedes Lewis. Just your thoughts on the free agent class?
Yeah, it was a little different for us, but I'm excited. I've been impressed with Jimmy Graham. I think he's
see that catch today?
Yeah, he's a good fit too. I think he's excited to be here, and I think Muhammad Wilkerson. I think he's structured the contract in a way where he's got a pretty big incentive to play well. So, and Mercedes Lewis. When we have good tight end play, especially somebody who can block the way he does, that can really make a difference.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's been a while. See?
100 years. Lots going on.
Yeah.
You jumped the gun. It's not 100 years till next year.
Well,
it's
our 100th season.
100th season.
I know, Mark, you've been covering the Packers for a long, long time.
This is 40 for me.
What was Curly Lambeau like?
Stop it. I started midway through the Bart Starr regime, but I'm 40 out of 100. I feel pretty.
No, that's pretty good.
Old about that, actually.
No, I mean, our history and tradition. It's one of the best assets that we have as an organization, and so we're really celebrating it. And I don't know if you saw the first 4 days of training camp, the Packers experience.
Right.
I thought that was really well received, especially families with young kids.
Oh, it was just
loved it.
packed with kids.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the exact same exhibits that you would have at a Super Bowl or a draft.
The little obstacle courses, the throwing into the nets, the kicking over the goalposts, so all that stuff. Yeah, it was amazing.
Lambeau Field Live, we've been taking that out across the state at major events. It's been at Summerfest, the State Fair. That's been really popular. And then the weekend of the Bears game, that opening weekend, we're calling it Celebration Weekend. It'll be kind of a combination of alumni weekend, the kickoff weekend that we had last year, had the Steve Miller Band, a free concert on the Saturday night before the Sunday night game against the Bears, and it should be a fun weekend. We'll have 65 of our alumni back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the guys.
Then the two other big things are we'll have we call it Legacy. It's a documentary. It'll be a documentary. There'll be an hour to an hour and a half for each decade, and really get in depth in the history of every decade of the Packers. And then Cliff Crystal is working on a book, the history of the official history.
Cliff's pushing me to the back burner.
I think Cliff knows a little more. He has a few more years.
Yeah, he has a few more years, but we've had a lot of conversations. We're going to get Cliff on, I think, here before the regular season starts.
Nobody knows our history.
Yeah, that's for sure. You're right. The history of this thing is just remarkable. And what I really like is the pre-Lombardi history, which just kind of gets overshadowed. Everyone knows the glory years, but nobody knows how close this thing folded time after time after time.
You know what's frustrating? It's almost like championships that weren't Super Bowls don't count for a lot of people across the league. Those were championships.
They were.
Yeah, we won 9 of them and then 4 Super Bowls and hopefully some more.
No kidding.
It's a miracle, really, that the Packers survived. If you go into our Hall of Fame and you look at the timeline of all the other teams that started in the early 1920s, and I mean, they all fell by the wayside.
The Duluth Eskimos.
Yeah.
The Pottsville Maroons.
Decatur, the Staleys in Decatur.
Kidding.
Moved to Chicago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Canton, Akron Bulldogs. It's a tribute to the community here that people rallied together and raised the money to keep the team here.
Passing the hat to stock sales worked out pretty good.
No, and it's that spirit among our fans continues. With the ownership structure we have, it's pretty special to see. We're the envy of a lot of all teams across the league in terms of the kind of fan support we get.
I bet.
As Packers president, you just talked about a lot of history of the franchise. Do you feel a pressure to absorb as much of that history as possible just in case a fan quizzes you in a supermarket sometime?
I do. You've probably seen me on some of my trips to, I usually go to Austin, sometime festival, but no, it's, and that's what's been great about this celebration, the 100 seasons. That there's things I've learned that, over the past year or so that I had no idea about. So there's so much history and tradition. I think our fans are just going to love the documentary and the book.
And it's such a rabid fan base that knows so much of the history and tradition as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Let's bring back Gene Ranzani. All right, let's do it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Mark Murphy. Hey, and our Coldplay of the day. We're going to get to that when we return right after this timeout.
We now return you to the 5th quarter, live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill. Here are Mark Daniels.
All right,
and
welcome
Matt
back.
Z.
Great way to start. Packer President Mark Murphy is our guest. We're getting rolling with all our games and fun, and got some door prizes to give away at the end of the show, so make sure you sign up for that. Michael and Paul got the box right in the middle table here at the Stadium View, so get your name in there as well. And we can also take home a prize right now if you guess our cold play of the day. You heard our hot play, the Boyle to Kumaro touchdown. Let's see if we can't find a cold play winner from last Thursday night in the win over the Titans.
Roger is up. He's got his wife's Cliff Notes.
Oh,
he's prepared. This could be a family sweep. What do you got, Roger?
Kaiser's failed 4th and goal.
Kaiser's 4th and goal pass that went incomplete late in the first half. No.
You
we gotta
lose.
think. We got to think. Oh, now they're going to come lining up here. All right. So he's going back to the cheat sheet.
Now they're just passing the notes around.
They're passing the note. They scratched off Kaiser's play.
Did only one of you watch the game and you're just...
really?
Don't worry, I'll take notes for everyone. I got it.
All right.
All right.
Let's go. One more crack.
Here we go.
All right.
What's your guess?
Kaiser failed 4th and goal.
All right. That's
that
still
was
the
a bad
same
play.
guess.
But not the coldest play of the day.
That's the problem when you write down only one note.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, Tim, what do you got?
Tim, what do we got?
Brett Huntley's interception.
Nah, it wasn't Brett's fault.
No, that one wasn't.
No, that was Byron Bell. He got blown up around the edge and hit Hundley from behind, and the ball popped up. Linebacker caught it up. Let's think adjacency, folks. Think adjacency. Hot, cold.
Roger's
You know
back.
what the hot play was?
Rollins fumbled punt.
Nah, he got it back. If he would have lost it, that would have been a candidate. But he hustled and got it back.
Uh-oh.
Talked to Quentin about that play today. He said the guy got on him like in a blink. And I said, well, that's how fast they come down on the special teams unit. Not so much on kickoffs anymore, Mr. Competition Committee.
No, that's right.
Huh?
Starting.
What do you think of that?
No running start.
How'd that look?
It's really hard. We think there'll be quite a few more returns, but it's hard to judge anything on the preseason.
I understand.
Because I think during the preseason, people want to evaluate their coverage teams and their kickoff return teams. So they'll take the ball out from 9 yards into the end zone.
Yeah, Alex Kemp.
But it's by having not having a running start. The coverage team's probably about 5-6 yards behind where they normally are.
So you can get out quicker. But Alex Kemp was, when the referee was in town working the practices, he said this was almost a compromise to save the kickoff. How close was the league to just saying, after a score, we'll spot it at the 25 and the heck with the kamikaze collisions? I'd hate to see that.
No. I think if this fails, that could be a step,
Really?
but I think we all would hope that the changes we made will make a difference. Obviously the slowing down the coverage team and then eliminating double team blocks.
That's another important one, I think.
It's
More
making the
important.
play more like a punt rather than a kickoff, so you try to eliminate the full speed collision.
Travis Williams will have to come out of the NFL record book with 4 kickoff return touchdowns in one season. See, more Packer history.
Well, at different levels of football, they're doing away with the kickoff. Youth level, the new league that's starting will not have kickoffs. So
What do you think of that new league? Good idea? Bad idea? Here we go again?
Yeah. No, the fact.
I mean, the
that
XFL says they're coming back, and now there's this other American whatever it's called. I don't even.
There's good people involved. Oliver Luck is going to be, I believe, the commissioner of the XFL.
Polian's involved.
Yeah. I mean, So I think there's a need for a developmental league for younger players. Especially now we have so few practices. In terms of talking to some coaches across the league about it, it would really benefit particularly quarterbacks and offensive linemen who you just can't get enough practice reps, and the practice reps don't really simulate what they see in the games.
I agree. Good point.
Speaking of rules and changes, the helmet rules, tackling rules, initiating contact, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know a lot of media are saying it's going to ruin football, and
they say that with a lot of rule changes.
Yeah,
I don't
It's
think
still
it'll be
here.
as big as have as big an impact as people think. But I'm very supportive of it. I think the main thing we're trying to do is to take the helmet out of the game in terms of players using it as a weapon, and not only to protect the player getting hit by the helmet, but the player hitting with the helmet. And I think it's going to take some time, but what you really want to eliminate is when the player lowers his helmet and hits with the crown or the top of his head, he really puts himself at great risk. And I think I'm optimistic. I think our players, we've done this in the past. They can adjust and change the way they play the game.
We've seen many players, Tim Lewis, Sterling Sharp, Nick Collins, really good players.
Ryan Shazier last year.
Careers end on those kinds of collisions. I thought the curious one in the game Thursday night was when the running back was called.
Yeah.
In between the tackles, you're told the lowest man wins. You're going to have a lot of those. And I just thought maybe they're just saying
the preseason they're probably going to call it more than they would.
Just to give you the baseline, saying, fellas, this is what we don't want. And I understand that.
It's really meant to be more out in space, where you line up a player and
I mean the defenseless receiver headhunting things.
Not to pick on Adrian Peterson, but if you remember, he had a tactic where when he would get out, he'd line somebody up and he was like a battering ram.
Yeah.
He'd lower his head, and that's something that that's actually been a rule for about 4 years, but it was never called. So this new rule is a little broader, applies to all players. And you don't have to hit them in the helmet. So if you lower your head and initiate contact with the helmet, that's a penalty.
The obvious ones. Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams' film was Jenny Trevathan. Those were sent to the league saying this is the exact thing. Thomas Davis. Brutal.
This is what we need to take out of the game.
I agree. And it has to be.
Do you think the rule is going to be an issue for linemen? They initiate contact in a bunch of different ways, those big guys.
Yeah, it's I would probably not so much in the interior, just because there's too much going on there. But an outside pass rush, I could see a defensive lineman. If you're headbutting and you bring right in, come in with the crown of the helmet, or on a pulling guard, like a Jerry Kramer. Of course, they never did it back then because they didn't have big face masks.
Right.
But you pulling out, and if you lowered your helmet and led with the crown of your helmet, I could see that being a penalty.
All right, Mark Murphy, our guest tonight. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on with the team, but there's also stuff going across the street. Titletown District, you mentioned the celebration. You're going to be a big part of that. You had the first night with the music out there and all the events. You got another building going up. Give me quick future of the district.
We're excited about Titletown.
Right.
I think it's the purpose really, and it goes back to some of the things we were talking about. It's kind of a miracle that the Packers are here, and so what we want to do is to ensure long term that the economy here can support an NFL team, and I think we've talked about this in the past, Mark, but we did a lot of research before we started developing Titletown, and some of the key research that we uncovered was that Green Bay is at a real disadvantage in terms of the number of college graduates that we have. And so for us, if we can keep more of our college graduates here, have more young professionals move into the area, that will really benefit this area long term. And of all the aspects of Titletown, the three anchors and the public park and plaza have been great. I think the new building that you referred to, that's our partnership with Titletown or with Microsoft, and we call it Titletown Tech. That really could be exciting if we can get some startup businesses that come as a result of partnering with Microsoft. That could really be a game changer for this community.
Could be. All right. Anything else there, Zeeb?
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, I don't know if it's rewarding, but it's the variety of the things that I get to deal with. I deal with league issues, working on Titletown. Obviously, my role within the organization on both the football and the business side. It's just the wide variety. I think my interaction with the fans is something that I really enjoy as well, and it's very rewarding. When you work hard and you try to do things to improve the fan experience and make the team or help the team win championships, and when people recognize that, it's very rewarding.
Hardest part about what you do?
Well, winning on a consistent basis, winning Super Bowls. You've had success, and then when you get to the point where it's Super Bowl or bust,
you feel that pressure.
Oh yeah, I think we
Yeah.
all do. Yeah, that's a heck of a lot better than nobody caring and some of the things that you see across the league. But I think you have to be. I think it's my role is to set realistic expectations, and each year is different. If there were years where, geez, we didn't win the Super Bowl, but still had a really good year. And as long as you're continuing to move forward and improve, I still feel good about it. Although it is disappointing when the season ends and you're not hoisting the Lombardi Trophy.
What's the expectation you set this year?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Lombardi Trophy, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, it's and it's not just because Aaron's 34, but I think I'd be very disappointed if we didn't have a really good year this year and get back into the playoffs. Once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen, as we saw in 2010. We went in as a wild card and played our very best football and won the championship.
We also won in as a 1 seed at 15-1, and you got to be right.
No.
You got to stay healthy and knock on wood. Yeah. Murph, fantastic job as always. Mark, we can't tell you again how much we appreciate you coming on, and if you like interacting with fans, you got great fans. You spent an hour with here tonight, and I thank you as well.
No, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Murphy, our special guest here on Lead Off Night. When we come back, we'll send somebody in the building to the Packers and Steelers Thursday night. Don't go away. Fifth quarter wraps up right after this.
We now return you to the fifth quarter, live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill. Here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hey, great start.
Woo!
Thanks for coming out tonight to the brand new Stadium View. What an awesome place, and we'll do it every Monday night, and every week we got some fun stuff to give away. Coldplay, by the way, was the kickoff return right after the Kumaro touchdown. That was pathetic coverage on that one, so we'll just give that away as a door prize when we're off the air. But on the air, we got to give away our tickets to the Packers Steelers, thanks to our friends from Robinsons. Who's going to the ball game?
Don Smet.
Don's got the first pair of ducats. And we will be back next Monday night after the Packers take on the Steelers. And our special guest next week, first time on the hot seat, new GM Brian Gutekunst.
Goody!
Do not want to miss Goody next Monday night. For Matt Z, I'm Mark Daniels. Thanks for coming out, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
So
everybody.
long, everybody.